Bam! You joined the Red Wings early on, and you came on, and you were an enforcer. And when you first joined the team, was the team very good at that time?
When I came in '93, like, you got to look at it now, okay? If you're a Detroit Red Wing fan, we're building where the team is because Steve Eisman, but we're years in the making, right? This is the beginning of the suck. The next suck, right, is when you climb the mountain and you think you're supposed to win and then you can't get there, like us. So I got there in the beginning of climbing the mountain. Now, the year before I got there, they lost the first round to Toronto. The year that I played, which was Scotty Bowman's first year in 93, 94, we won the President's Trophy, which means you set the league, the best record in the league, number one, but we lost to San Jose. So
was that a round one loss too? I think it was.
Yeah, another round one loss,
yeah.
Right? Like that's a game. And then, so as you're revamping, then your second year, which is a lockout year, but you play half the season and you go to the finals, boom, against Jersey, and you're expected to win, that. And then you get swept, you get embarrassed. And then
what was that feling like, first of all? Let's go there.
Oh, it sucked.
Yeah.
It's
you have the best record, you're the best team out there, you get swept.
Well, but it's not even that, because it's the psychology of getting over the hump. It's like life. You know, the one thing, as we're talking about, is about never giving up. If you never quit, then you're always in the game, right? And no matter, that's the one thing, is that I realize it, because I've been to the ends and the worst of the worst, and you know, I've been opposite. I've lived it, right? And my goal is so that nobody has to go where I've been, because I don't think they'll ever come. I don't think they have the strength to come back. Not saying anything, but it's just the way that I'm built. So
you have so much heart. You have so much fight. You said don't quit. No. You didn't quit on the hockey, rink. You don't quit in life. You've had some things thrown at you. That's why I think that we have this energy together, because it's that heart of, we're not going to be told no, and we're not going to quit no matter what.
And here's the honesty of it, Jayson, that we've thought about it.
Yeah.
It's crossed our minds. We're not inhuman like that. But at the end of the day, when it comes to putting the, pedal to the metal, who we kidding? Yeah, we're not going to, because we'll have that pity party with ourselves, and then we'll get to the point and go, who are you kidding? Now it's just like, how am I going to fight back? And so the thing is, I'm done fighting, right? Now it's about corralling to the people. And I always say this, is I'm here for anybody that, what do you mean by that, has questions. I'll sit here till the cows come home if you're willing to do the work, but I'm not here to argue. That's when you get to Google me to find out
what happens when you argue. Well, let me ask you this. Leadership. Scotty Bowman is there, right? And he loses the first two playoff series. You lose the first series, and then he loses in the Stanley Cup. What kind of leadership skill not only did you pick up from him, but the rest of the team to bring you guys together? Because I truly believe that, and you said it earlier, it starts at the top, right? And when you have great leadership, it makes everybody else empowered to do what they need to do. What was that like, playing with him early on, and how he may have overcome some adversity as you guys started winning?
Well, I think it's a learned process, and it's the success. And I believe this from my experience is that losing is the greatest teacher, right? So, for example, I think that if we would have won that first one, we probably would have maybe won another one, but I don't think I'm sitting here with 4 cups right now. But it's the journey there, because that wasn't the worst, losing in the finals. It was the next year when we set the league record, 62 wins. And then we lost in the conference finals to Colorado in the game that the centerman of the grind line, which is me, Kirk Maltby, Chris Draper, and Joey Kosher. There's actually 4 of us on the line. It's a long story, but gets hit from behind by the biggest villain, not just on their team, on Colorado's team, biggest villain in the NHL, most hated player, Claude Lemieux. Hits Chris Draper right in front of him, breaks his jaw in 4 places, crushes his orbital bone. We go on to lose game 6. We're out.
What was that like? Because I mean, we all know, well, some of the viewers and listeners know what happened after that, but what was that feeling like, not only to lose, but to have, I'll call it a cheap shot. You don't have to. I'll call it that way.
No, it was cheap.
Yeah, okay,
it was the ultimate cheap shot.
It is what it is then. Then we're being clear.
Oh, God.
So it was the ultimate cheap shot that fired you guys up. And it's unfortunate for Chris, but what was that like? What kind of juices did you guys get going into the next season?
Well, here's the whole thing. Like you said, you got time. This happens in May. and the one thing that I was the one who got Chris Draper out of the hospital, and I said,
you took it personally then?
Absolutely. I said, don't worry. Then the only thing that was ever said between anybody on the team or any time was me saying to him, don't worry, I'll take care of it. But then you have to think about it. And as the season goes on, right, you come back, then you know that we got to beat Colorado. And we lose to them 3 times because you only play them 4 times during the season, which leads up to the March 26th games, which amplifies the fact that, like anything else in life, you're going to come up against, the odds, and you're going to be the underdog, and it's going to be, it's something that the only way out is through. And it's rivals. It doesn't matter. There's rivals all over high school. When we're talking
nothing
sports,
like this, though. This
life.
was next level.
But this is at the highest stage and the greatest thing. And you can watch from 96 to 02, the rivalry. But then it leads into this March 26th game at the Joe, and the way that it played out. But we had to win that game.
Did you go into that game thinking a fight would break out or no?
Oh, I had to think, right? And listen, this is the sick thing, is I've been thinking since the previous May, which is 10 months, how am I going to get this guy without letting it cost the team? Because we haven't beaten them. We set the league record, 62 wins out of 80 games is a lot of friggin'...
It's a high percentage.
Right,
wins,
you know what I'm saying? So when they have your numbers, so winning that game and the way that it played out, I was going in, how is it going to happen? So I knew when he was always on the ice. And if you watch the play, you look how it started. So Igor Larionov, right, who's all of 5'6" and 160 pounds, right, soaking wet. The only person in this world, a bigger pacifist, might be Gandhi. Right? We call him the professor. He's the elder statesman. And Peter Forsberg, one of their stars, they've been going at it. And he decides to give him a couple swats and look like puppies on Christmas morning. But I knew Lemieux was on the ice. But Adam Foote grabbed me. And then Shanny broke his arms. And I walked up, and it's what you've been thinking for. And this is where I tell everybody, do not be afraid to wish for things. Be ready for when that moment comes, because it might just be like that. And that's what Lemieux's face was. And I hit him as hard as every man, woman, child in the wing-wheeled nation was behind that punch.
That's true.
And you'll appreciate this. I'm a lefty. I hit him with the right.
Oh, that's great.
So it's power.
That's
you
great.
got power in your other hand, but the fact that I hit him with the cold cock, right? Because it's right from here. Sucker punches from behind. We don't do that. Cold cock's right from the front.
Yeah, he sees it coming.
When you look right between the eye, it must have been just like one of those standoffs in the old West, But I blasted him. And then he goes down to the turtle. Now, I don't know the goalies are coming out. I don't know all the stuff's going on because I'm just concentrated on putting my fist through his skull and ripping his heart out through his nose, even though I know you can't do that. Right. Anatomically impossible. But then I saw Chris Draper. There was like church, and the light came down, and there I saw Drapes, and I went, oh, okay, eye for an eye, baby. And I took his head and I rammed it into the boards. Yes, I did. And then I did try to knee him, but I was unsuccessful. And the linesman actually even said that I was off balance. So I only got fined $2,500. I got 4 minutes for roughing.
Isn't that crazy?
And a 10-minute misconduct too, right? Which allowed me to stay in the game. And the biggest thing is we were down 5-3 going in the third period. We tied it up.
Went to overtime?
I scored the overtime winning
goal.
Right? And at that moment, in wing-wheeled nation, not just in the building, in the city, in the state, in the country, in the world, in the universe, right? It was that proverbial moment where we all felt
the release.
It's going to be okay. I don't know what it means. It's going to be okay. And Brendan Shanahan says in the Russian 5, right, when we faced Colorado in the conference finals that year, that game gave us such a psychological advantage, right? Not because we just beat the living dog crap out of Lemieux. And the whole thing is, right, Jay, to get back to it, why it was so personal is because in life and in sports, bad things happen, but you cannot lose respect for a fellow human being. Claude Lemieux said you never would have heard of Chris Draper. He's not sorry and was just an arsehole about it. Right?
That's what the listeners need to know. It wasn't like
it was
normal
like
hockey.
No.
And it was a cheap shot. You went on record many times saying, I would like him to apologize. We want him to apologize. It was wrong. right? But he didn't want to. He kept saying nobody had heard from him. I'm not saying sorry for anything.
No, it was
And
just
it
the way
bothered
he
you
reacted.
guys.
Well, that's just in life because I don't know the end result. If that happened to me in my real life, right? Not playing this and inside. Well, there's consequences.
Yeah. There's consequences.
There is consequences for all your action, and the fact that was the catalyst, to lead us to back.
Well, the listeners need to know everyone has a role to play, and you're a great hockey player. You scored the winning goal, but you weren't the fastest on the team. You weren't you didn't have the most points on the team. You weren't the best defenseman on the team. But what you brought was that heart. You brought that fight. You brought that mentality. You were the enforcer. You were the one defending your team to the wits' end to make sure you guys were in position to win.